What's going on, everyone? So we are here today. A lot of you enjoyed the Ahsoka deck I played the other day, and so we're back with a little bit more excitement from set 3, really going into some set 3 cards today because we only had a couple of cards from set 3 in the Ahsoka deck, which is one of the biggest things that you all mentioned. So instead, we're playing full on exploit with NUTE yellow today. So before we dive into the list and play some games, let me give a big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you for supporting the channel. And also, I have a TCG player link in the description down below. Be sure to use it for all your Star Wars Unlimited card needs. But let's talk about NUTE yellow for a brief moment before we actually dive into some games. So the idea behind exploit in general, or NUTE, and why we're playing exploit, is we're defeating a bunch of units to cheat out some big things, to hopefully give us an advantage in the mid game. As we get later on in the game, our expensive stuff is going to be weaker than our opponents because we're trying to cheat it out. And in the early game, we're going to have weaker units than our opponent because we're playing a bunch of fodder that can be sacrificed. Now, NUTE gun rate does help this strategy by anytime we defeat 2 or more friendly units, or anytime 2 or more friendly units are defeated, we are able to create a battle droid token, which helps us create more fodder for later plays. His flip side just gets more battle droid tokens whenever we attack. At 6 resources, we get a battle droid token anytime we attack. He's also a 2/8. So the idea here is get some weak, kind of trash units down early that are meant to be sacrificed so that we can get to things like multi-troop transport. Getting down this allows us to continuously have a supply of battle droid tokens that we can sacrifice to really get some big value in things like Malevolence, Battle Droid Legion, and Invasion of Christophsis. We also have a couple of other kind of interesting ones. We have Geonosis Patrol Fighter, the ability to kind of bounce some things back to our opponent's hand, gives us a little bit of a tempo advantage. Droideka Security, giving us a little bit of protection on the way up. Sandhill, giving us some options to potentially play a free 6 resource play that'll help us ready a bunch of resources. And then we have a bunch of filler cards that help us get there, right? We've got General Grievous, just a nice 4/4 for 3 resources realistically. Battle Droid Escort, wartime trade official, droid deployment on the doorstep, all things that allow us to go ahead and create fodder to sacrifice to bigger units. We got some removal, and well, the coolest thing, honestly, is Admiral Modi. This guy, anytime we, let's say, exploit out, I don't know, a Sandhill or a Malevolence, suddenly we're immediately able to ready that unit. It works increasingly well with something like Sandhill because you get to, let's say, sacrifice 3 units, play Sandhill for free, ready him up immediately, and then attack to ready up more resources, which could be pretty interesting. So a little bit of a cool combo there, and maybe we'll be able to pull it off. Let's just run into some games and see what we can do today, guys. So I got some other decks to play against. We're going to start us off with the meta Sabine. I know a couple of you mentioned you wanted to see some new cards on the other side of the battlefield. So we'll probably jump up against Ahsoka and potentially up against Dooku, which is kind of interesting. See how the exploit plays in the AI side. But let's go ahead and randomize this, see who's going to play first, and jump into the match. So what do we got here? We got an interesting little hand. We got Separatist Commando into General Grievous, which is essentially a 4/3 on turn 1 into a 4/4 on turn 2. But then we don't have any fodder to exploit any of these out, so these are probably going to be pretty weak. The question is this kind of curve going to actually compete against Sabine? I don't think so. I think we need to lean into some of our more explosive, turn 1 / future plays. This one, and this is the problem with some of the exploit decks, you have basically exclusive exploit options. I'm going to go to resource the 2 most expensive ones. Malevolence can get down earlier, but it is a little bit risky. You know what? I take it back. I'm actually going to resource the Battle Droid Legion and the multi-troop transport because, as I was saying, Malevolence, you can go ahead and get that down if you do get a little bit lucky with a bunch of battle droids that you can get down. We're going to go ahead and take initiative here. We're going to play the Rune Hako. They have a Sabine Wren. This is a pretty standard kind of option for our opponent. So this is pretty interesting because we can actually play the droid deployment and then play the Geonosis Patrol Fighter and then re-get a battle droid token should we choose to do so. Or we could just play the battle droid deployment and try to set up for like a Malevolence or a Droideka security. I think I resource one of these Geonosis patrol fighters, and I think what I do is just immediately attack with Rune Hako, just get rid of the Sabine Wren, trade 1-for-1, and we're just going to immediately play the droid deployment. Boom, get that thing down, and we'll see. Our opponent takes initiative. Okay, I don't see a reason to exploit anything out. I could essentially cheat this out and only use one of my battle droid tokens because I can get one back, but I think I'd rather keep both battle droid tokens and just have the Geonosis patrol fighter in hand. So let's go ahead and pass. No turn 2 play is pretty weak from our opponent. That's definitely not a normal thing to see. They're going to go on and deal damage with Sabine. We are going to actually play battle droid escort, and now we can actually go ahead and exploit out Malevolence. So what this is going to be able to do is we just go ahead and, well, play Malevolence, defeat all of these units, and we're going to give -4/-0 to the Sabine, which is going to really hinder the amount of damage that she can deal. And then we're going to be able to actually create another battle droid token with the action from NUTE Gunray. Our opponent takes initiative, which honestly I don't think is necessarily terrible because this gets -4/-0 and it can attack. So they just go ahead and just put the Darksaber on. I don't think that would have been any different necessarily. So really nice situation for us with the Malevolence. Fellow Dragon, probably going to be a little bit weak, but also we just have a bunch of exploit stuff in our deck. So probably not something that we're going to be wanting to really play because we don't have that many units to actually exploit away. Fellow Dragon looking pretty good here. I'm just going to attack with the Malevolence here. Get a restore 2, attack for 7, and the game is basically over for our opponent. I don't really see a way out realistically. But what we could do is play Fell the Dragon on my opponent's Poe Dameron. Then we can go ahead and either... No one got defeated this phase, or only one unit got defeated this phase, so we can't go ahead and exploit this out by using NUTE Gunray's action. What we can do is attack Sabine actually with this battle droid token, and then just create a new one since they're going to take initiative. Fellow Dragon looking really good against Poe Dameron. Let's pass, and let's get into the next turn. Battle droid escort looking pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of Geonosis patrol fighter at this stage of the game, but battle droid escort's going to give us a bunch of exploit fodder here. But the game, as I said, is basically over. Our opponent doesn't really have a way to deal with the Malevolence this early. They can 4 cause. They hit us for 3. Usually a time when our opponent can play 4 cause. I mean, you could see how much work that the opponent's able to do even with this kind of mediocre draw that they've had. Let's go ahead and play the battle droid escort. Get a battle droid token. Let's go ahead and what do we want to do here? I think we would like to play Sand Hill, just defeat all these battle droid tokens. Get essentially a free 3/7. We get to recreate a battle droid token. This is going to then allow us to create another battle droid token, and then we can go ahead and play the Droideka security, sacrificing both battle droids. This is pretty sweet, guys. When you start putting a bunch of stuff into play, and you just could do a million different things in a single turn, like we just did, the deck starts to feel a little bit absurd. And I mean, look at that. We just defeated like 5 different units and then replaced our board with another 4 units that we previously didn't have, which is pretty sweet. And now they can play red 3. I mean, they did a good job of getting us for a decent amount of damage when we did have such an early Malevolence, but Malevolence just kind of closed out the game. Again, Sabine doesn't really have any way to realistically deal with our Malevolence at really any stage of the game. There are some decks that are going to really do well against Malevolence and some decks that are not. And Sabine's one of which that has a really hard time with Malevolence and honestly big exploit units in general. Let's try that again and see what we can do here. Interesting little bit of a hand here. I'm not going to mulligan this. I'm going to resource the Modi and the Snoke here. And I'm probably going to get started with a Bazine. Our opponent's going to go ahead and action with Sabine. Honestly, not a terrible play. It's very frequent that someone will do that in a normal game. So our opponent's play has 4 different cards in hand. We play a Bazine because we're not worried about sacrificing it. And it might be able to mess up our opponent's turn 1 play. And in this case, we try to take the A-Wing so they don't have a turn one play. Looks like they still do. A little bit unfortunate, but that's how the game goes in some cases. Here we get to go ahead and resource this Separatist Commando, and this is one of the reasons why I really, really like Geonosis Patrol Fighter, because we can play Geonosis Patrol Fighter by defeating the Bazine, bouncing the Alliance X-Wing. So now we get the Geonosis Patrol Fighter into play. Yes, we had to sacrifice the Bazine, but our opponent didn't get to attack with the Fleet Lieutenanted up X-Wing or A-Wing, whichever one would have been in play. Here we've got Separatist Commando, Battle Droid Escort, Power of the Dark Side. I think we just go ahead and resource the General Grievous. I'm interested in keeping both of these removal in hand. I'm actually just going to go play the Battle Droid Escort here because we would like to set up for any potential option. Oh, they're going to ECL out Wing Leader. Definitely not a play that I would normally see. We're going to pass here because our opponent's going to attack with a bunch of units. And there's no reason not to pass. If our opponent decides to hit one of these units, we can then use Nuke Gunray's action. They're not going to, so we just take initiative here. We didn't really have any other option in that situation. Getting ourselves a ton of exploit fodder, but not actually the exploit payoff. So a little bit unfortunate there. We get to go ahead and play one of these Power of the Dark Side. So they're going to probably defeat Sabine is what I was thinking. They're going to actually let them attack the Battle Droid Escort, which is a little bit strange. In that case, I'm just going to attack Sabine, try to go ahead and get an extra point of damage, which is then going to allow us to use the Nuke Gunray here. I'm going to play the Separatist Commando, gives us a little bit of extra power on board, and I will go ahead and use that action from Nuke Gunray. We're really looking for a massive exploit card here. Sandhill, Geonosis Patrol Fighter, honestly, both okay. Nothing terrible here. They're going to for a cause hit us for 3 points of damage, and they're going to leave it all on top, which is totally fine. That's probably not the play I would go with, generally speaking, because I have this Separatist Commando. I can just attack Sabine and have it live, which is pretty impressive. So do very much like that. I'm going to attack with the Ketsu Onyo, which is totally fine because I am actually going to play out this Geonosis Patrol Fighter, sacrificing both Battle Droid tokens to bounce the Disabling Fang Fighter here. Once again, very nice tempo play. They're going to replay it. Totally fine here. Let's go ahead and use the action from Nuke Gunray. Then we're going to be able to deploy Nuke Gunray. Then we're going to be able to attack their Ketsu Onyo, creating a Battle Droid token, killing the Ketsu Onyo. We then get to go ahead and play Sandhill for 2 resources, exploiting out both these Battle Droid tokens. Then we get to play Power of the Dark Side, and we have now emptied our hand and basically took over the entire board state, which is pretty sweet, I will say. We do have Bazine in our resource pile, which is pretty interesting. They're going to go ahead and play out their Wrecker, defeating my Nuke Gunray, which is a little bit unfortunate, but that's totally okay. We get to use... What do we want to use here? So we have a Bazine, which would cost 4 resources, which would end up giving us 3. And then this has exploit 2. So we can make this 5 resources. I think I am interested in just kind of defeating some other units if I could. Well, I suppose what we could do is attack. So we could play Bazine, right? Play Bazine. And then we attack, which we've then gone ahead and had 3 units defeated. We can then, 2 units defeated after we attack with Sandhill, which would put us back up to 5 resources. So then we could sacrifice Bazine and the Geonosis Patrol Fighter to get down the Battle Droid Legion, which I think is worth it. So let's just go ahead and just get in some damage here. They're going to go ahead and deal 1 damage to each of us. Let's go ahead and attack our opponent's Wrecker with the Separatist Commando. Now, before we attack with Sandhill, we must go ahead and play this Bazine. We can go ahead and exhaust these 4. Go ahead and see what our opponent's got. I don't really care about any of those, so I'm not going to take any card. And then we attack with Sandhill, kill the Wrecker. And then we go ahead and play the Battle Droid Legion, exploiting out both of these units. And now we've essentially traded up in a decent way in terms of resources and unit power. Not saying that we're in an amazing spot by any means, right? Because we still have a bunch of damage on our base. Our opponent's got a timely battlefield marine. Okay, not that scary. It's one of the reasons why I did not attack with Battle Droid Legion here, because I was curious if our opponent was going to play something that that was forced to be killed by Battle Droid Legion, so we didn't take a bunch of damage. But fortunately for us, that's not the case, because we can use a bunch of Battle Droid tokens to take out the Battlefield Marine, and then those will replace themselves anyways, and that way we actually conserve as much damage as we can to hit their base, because of course we still have to finish the game eventually. But let's go ahead and use the action ability from NUTE Gunray. Then we just attack with the Battle Droid Legion, and we still have yet to see Droideka Security. We still have yet to see, well, that's a card. Let's see, if we were to defeat all 4 of these, this would cost 7. I don't think we're playing 2 of these. Definitely drawing 2 of those is pretty bad at this stage in the game. They have a Time Intervention Sundari Peacekeeper, kill a Battle Droid token. So they're definitely doing some work here, no doubt about it. Let's go ahead and what do we want to do here? So I think we just attack their base with this Battle Droid token. They're going to play an Alliance X-Wing, and now we can take initiative and finish them off, Battle Droid Legion. But again, this was a hand where we went through, how many cards in our deck, and we didn't see basically any of the exploit cards until way later. We saw Genesis Patrol Fighter, and we did see that Sand Hill. We were really looking for like some sort of Sentinel, Droideka Security, multi-troop transport, something like the Malevolence, that type of stuff. So pretty interesting game. Let's go ahead and try it against the Ahsoka deck that we were playing against yesterday. I think that if we do get one of those big heavy hitters like Malevolence, we are in a really nice spot against a deck like Sabine. This looks like a great hand. I am not going to mulligan this. I'm going to go and resource a Snoke, and I'm probably going to resource the Wartime Trade Official, because we have a really nice setup where we get to go Droid Deployment here on turn 1, Battle Droid Escort turn 2, and then turn 3 we get to go Malevolence plus General Grievous, which looks really nice. Fellow Dragon, the deck Ahsoka Yellow doesn't really play too many really strong units or anything like that, so I'm pretty safe just going ahead and in resourcing the Fell the Dragon. Let's play Battle Droid Escort. They're gonna surprise strike in for a massive chunk. That's 7 points of damage. We're gonna take the initiative here. Don't really see a reason to kind of do a bunch of nonsense. When what we can do here is resource this Rune Hako. We can just play the Malevolence and the Battle Droid Escort or General Grievous. I think Battle Droid Escort's more appealing because of the shield token on L3. So I think what we do here is just play the Malevolence, defeat, make the L3 not be able to attack, get a Battle Droid token. We can then replace the Battle Droid token here, one of the Battle Droid tokens, with NUTE Gunray's ability. We then play Battle Droid Escort, and now we have a bunch of fodder. They've emptied their hand with a bunch of 1 resource plays, which is totally fine. Rune Hako can come in, and we can actually use it to give -1/-1 to R2 and then take him out with a bunch of Battle Droid tokens, which is kind of interesting. I think we resource the General Grievous at this point, and we start off by just attacking into the Cartel Turncoat. And normally I would try to preserve as much HP as possible. We're not under that insane amount of pressure, right now, and we would like to see what we draw. Okay, so let's go ahead and just attack into L337 here. Get rid of that shield token. Create a Battle Droid token. And now, what do I want to do? We can play Droideka Security, sacrificing 1 Battle Droid token. But I think I would like to get more efficient in terms of resource usage here. So I think what I want to do is attack L3, because I would like to play as many things as possible on this turn. Oh man, what are they gonna do here? I think actually in this stage I would like to just play the Droideka Security, sacrificing 2 units, Getting down the Droideka security, because now our opponent's going to have to attack it with either R2 or Ahsoka. I'm kind of curious as to what they actually have at this point. I'm not quite sure. Get rid of L3. We could use the action ability from NUTE Gunray, and then we could use the droid deployment here. Okay, so they have Soldier of the 501st. They don't really have too much here. Could use Rune Hako to kill off L3. But I kind of wanted to get more battle droid tokens into play, just in case we ended up drawing some sort of expensive exploit card. Malevolence here. Ooh, they get to attack in for a massive chunk here. We got to take out the A-Wing here. Make sure we just avoid as much damage as possible. They're going to attack one of our battle droid tokens. And now what can we do? We get to go ahead and play Rune Hako. Give -1/-1 to the Soldier of the 501st. So they go ahead and defeat another battle droid token. We get to attack that Soldier of the 501st to finish it off. They have a R2-D2, which is also pretty interesting. We get to use NUTE Gunray's action, and then we get to follow up by making 3 readied up battle droid tokens. And then we get to ready up NUTE Gunray. And I think what I want to do is just attack Ahsoka with 2 of these battle droid tokens. So that way my NUTE Gunray doesn't take too much damage here. And I get to keep him around for a decent amount of time. And then we will go ahead and finish off the R2-D2 with this attack. By the way, I have 0 damage into the base. It's just kind of how these decks work, is you're trying to set up this thing, your opponent's trying to hit you. It's a little bit awkward. I'll say that much. Admiral Modi, Separatist Commando. We did resource the Bazine earlier. I'm not going to resource anything at this point. Our opponent's going to hit our Rune Hako, which is totally fine. I'm just going to kill the R2 with the NUTE Gunray to create another battle droid token. We have Power of the Dark Side, so now we are in a really, really good spot. We get to go ahead and take out the Millennium Falcon with Malevolence here, which is also pretty good. Malevolence gets to stay alive. We can keep resourcing. Our opponent takes initiative, so now we get to attack with basically all of our battle droid tokens, and now we get to start pecking at our opponent with our massive flood of tokens, which is pretty sweet. And let's go ahead and play the Separatist Commando. Let's go ahead and play the Admiral Modi. I could have played the Bazine, but I'd actually rather get the Admiral Modi down because there's a very likely chance that we go ahead and get a exploit card like Multi-Troop Transport. Okay, Heavy is really scary for us actually because of all of our battle droid tokens. But let's just go ahead and start off by attacking into their base for 7. Get our Restore 2 in. We got a Greedo. Let's go ahead and attack, I think, Greedo here with one of the battle droid tokens. They discard a card, hit a surprise strike, get to kill another unit. Okay, not the worst. Let's go ahead and attack into their base with a battle droid token. Let's go ahead and attack into their base with a battle droid token. Attack with Admiral Modi. Attack with... Actually, let's go ahead and play Multi-Troop Transport, sacrificing 2 battle droid tokens. Because then what we want to do is attack the base with Separatist Commando. Attack the base with NUTE Gunray. I guess this doesn't matter because we're going to play the Power of the Dark Side. They're going to defeat all my 1 toughness units, and then we get to ready up Malevolence, which they then can finish off the game. What a convoluted turn. Some of these turns when you're playing the exploit decks are kind of absurd, and you can see it. It is just like one thing after the next. It is pretty crazy. But what a game. What a game. Let's go ahead and fight against another exploit deck that I have in the pool right now. This is Dooku Red. Very similar style. Where they're trying to get a bunch of units down, exploit out something good, and then kind of get some value there. I really like this hand, actually. I don't really care for Droideka Security, and I don't even care for Power of the Dark Side in this matchup because they're playing things like Patrolling V-Wing, for example. Things that they're just looking to sacrifice. Let's go ahead and pass here. Geonosis Patrol Fighter is really good here because we're not actually defeating anything. We're just bouncing it, which kind of defeats it, but it's not exactly defeating, if that makes sense. Let's go ahead and kill one of the battle trade tokens with this wartime trade official. And then we get to go ahead and play the Geonosis Patrol Fighter, defeating the wartime trade official. We then get to bounce the battle droid token and create our own battle droid token. They're going to exploit out a battle droid escort here. So really actually decent use of overall plays from our opponent. Did not expect another play, but Count Dooku could kind of do some crazy things like that. Separatist Commando, not exactly really that interesting at this stage. They could have a ton of different exploit options, to be honest. I don't think it's worthwhile to go ahead and try and compete on that realm. Like, just go ahead and play your units and try to do your exploit thing when you're in this situation. So I think what I want to do is play out wartime trade official. Oh, they're going to attack. Okay. I didn't necessarily expect that, but it actually makes a decent amount of sense for our opponent because they get a 1/1 returning to them. And now we kind of can't play anything unless we want to get rid of this Geonosis Patrol Fighter. I think we are kind of forced to, because if we don't do this, then we don't get to NUTE Gunray action, and we don't really get to use all of our resources this turn. They're going to resupply, which puts them really close to flipping Count Dooku. I try to play General's Guardian. Okay, well, our opponent just tried to exploit something for nothing because they couldn't play. They didn't have enough resources, which is one of the things I was wondering was going to happen. Let's go ahead and just straight up play the Malevolence here. It's not crazy strong because we're not preventing a massive unit from attacking or anything like that. But we do get to ready up a couple resources. We do get to create another battle droid token. We do get to play the Separatist Commando. So it's definitely a reasonable play here. Let's go ahead and play the Separatist Commando. You can see our opponent's just kind of getting so many things on the battlefield, but kind of doing nothing. But that's because we've taken care of a ton of our opponent's units along the way. Geonosis Patrol Fighter, I think, is a little bit weaker because we can exploit out this multi-troop transport and get Admiral Modi down. And Count Dooku comes out. He's going to sacrifice one unit to kill my battle droid token. Not like a crazy insane play, but still pretty solid. So I think here we just want to focus on hitting our opponent's base. I think we are definitely in a better position in terms of board state with the Malevolence in play. Our opponent doesn't really have that many great ways to deal with it unless they were to use Count Dooku to defeat multiple units here. Count Dooku comes out. I am going to play the Admiral Modi at this point because if they decide to kill it, we get to ready up the Malevolence anyways. And they do. They probably shouldn't have attacked, shouldn't have killed the Modi, but I guess it doesn't really matter because our opponent doesn't really have many options. Like maybe you kill the Separatist Commando. So now we play out a battle droid token. We get to ready up NUTE Gunray. We get to attack into their base for another 2 points, create another battle droid token. And then we get to play the multi-troop transport. Wait. Not play the multi-troop. We're going to attack with Sand Hill to hit 3 into their opponent's base, ready up a bunch of resources, and then we get to play multi-troop transport, only defeating 1 unit, which is pretty nice. And then we have an unstoppable board state, and our opponent doesn't really have all that much, which is pretty nice. Definitely a pretty clear victory for us. Our opponent's got the Modi as well, but overall, I mean, that was pretty sweet. Lots of tempo advantage with the cunning aspect versus command, but our opponent also didn't really use the exploit options the best. One of the best things to do in this deck is to like get down a really early Kraken or get down like Count Dooku by sacrificing a bunch of things and wiping our opponent's board. But I think in this situation, our opponent didn't do anything too crazy, Let's go ahead and try against this Rex green deck. I think you'll see this in a video in the future, so stay tuned. We get ourselves a pretty nice hand. Not going to mulligan this one. Fell the Dragon, go to the resource pile. And I think I'm going to resource the Power of the Dark Side. Again, a card that's like not insanely powerful here. Droid deployment comes down. Next turn, we can go Geonosis Patrol Fighter, or we can go ahead and play the multi-troop transport. Our opponent plays the Coruscant Guard. We're going to take initiative here. Snoke coming down, I think is a little bit down the line. So I'm just going to resource that for now. And I am going to just play the multi-troop transport, defeating both these units. If I don't play it now and our opponent kills something, then we lose that option. So I think I just want to get the multi-troop transport down and then use the action ability from NUTE Gunray to kind of refresh the battle droid token. They're going to create 3 battle droid tokens of their own. And actually, I think that was, I don't know if that was actually smart from our opponent or kind of weak, because the clone trooper tokens don't get defeated by a single battle droid token, but now they have more options to start smacking things. So kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and attack their Coruscant Guard with this multi-troop transport here. Get a battle droid token. They play a Hu Yang. Oh, ECL'd. Definitely not a card that you'd want to ECL out, to be honest, but we'll just kill it off with one of these battle droid tokens. So now our multi-troop transport's probably going to die to this battle droid token. And now what we can do is get down, I guess we can use the action from NUTE Gunray and then just get down a Sand Hill, I think is the thing that we want to do. I suppose we could play On the Doorstep and then Sand Hill for free, but that doesn't really make sense. We should just play the Sand Hill, defeating the battle droid token, and get this down. I could play On the Doorstep to prepare for next turn, but I think we have a lot of options with a Sand Hill onto the battlefield. Let's go ahead and resource one of the exploit cards that we have in hand. Here, I think what we do want to do is just play On the Doorstep, get a bunch of battle droid tokens down. They got themselves an Echo. So now we get to attack into their battle droid token and simply trade off here. We get to see ourselves. Echo is now big. Captain Rex comes down. I am kind of interested in attacking into Captain Rex here. He's already had 2 units defeated. That's a third one. So 3 units have been defeated, which means we get to go to 4 resources, which means we can play Battle Droid Escort and Geonosis Patrol Fighter? Question mark? Yes, that should work. So let's go ahead and attack into the... Oh man, what do I want to do? Yeah, we have to attack because we need resources. I think I'll just attack into Captain Rex, actually. And then, ooh, they have Yularen as well. Oh my, their units are super pumped up. Huh. Okay. Let's go ahead and play the Battle Droid Escort. Let's then go ahead and play the Geonosis Patrol Fighter. Defeat. We get to return the Clone Trooper token, just get rid of it, create a Battle Droid token, and then we get to create another Battle Droid token. Our opponent had a crazy turn this turn. Despite all that we managed to do to mess with our opponent's board, our opponent still has a pretty crazy board. Malevolence was a pretty excellent draw here, which is nice. They're going to go ahead and attack our Sand Hill. I guess I'll just use Sand Hill to finish off the Captain Rex, which should be able to kill off the Echo as well. Yularen coming in. They're going to hit the Battle Droid token. Sure. We get to go ahead and pull action to create a new Battle Droid token. Then we get to go ahead and... Ooh, they're going to heal up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and flip NUTE Gunray with another 501st Liberator. Let's go ahead and attack into the Yularen here. Since this guy's going to give all these other guys +0/+1. And then what we can do is play Battle Droid Legion, defeating these 2 Battle Droid tokens. Attack with the Battle Droid. And then we can go ahead and get down the Malevolence next turn, potentially. Ooh, I like this combination of cards. So I can On the Doorstep plus... No, I have to resource one of them. Okay, let's just go ahead and get down the Admiral Modi and then ready up something a second time. Ooh, they're going to go ahead and command up their Yularen. All right, well, that just gives us kind of a huge target. Let's go ahead and just kill the Yularen with the Battle Droid Legion to get a bunch of Battle Droids here. They're going to go ahead and hit my NUTE Gunray. Let's go ahead and attack into their base with NUTE Gunray. Create another Battle Droid token. I'm going to hit my NUTE Gunray yet again. and finish it off. Let's go ahead and kill one of their 501st Liberators. They're going to go ahead and create a Clone Trooper token. We're going to attack into the patrol fighter into their base. So they've got a ton of units just constantly being played. However, we're going to be able to get down a Malevolence here. Malevolence, defeat. And now we get to go ahead and give something -4, -0. And now we get to get the full value by attacking their base for 7, which actually sets up lethal for next turn just in space alone, which looks pretty nice. Not going to resource anything. We have a bunch of battle droid tokens. They're going to get Clone Commander Cody down, but we're going to go ahead and just smack into their base. Once again, another deck that's really hard to deal with. If you're not playing like a blue-based deck, a lot of these exploit cards are really tough to deal with, is what we found out. In testing any sort of exploit deck, if you are not playing things like Power of the Dark Side, Fell the Dragon, those types of cards, then these decks just fold to big exploit cards. So that is something that we do have to keep in mind. Overall, pretty interesting from NUTE Gunray, guys. I had a lot of fun with NUTE Gunray and building around the exploit deck. Let me just talk about the deck here as we're closing out. So as I've said in a previous couple of videos, I've been playing a lot of the set 3 decks, and one mechanic that I think is really strong against a lot of decks is the exploit mechanic. I suppose there's not really that many mechanics in the game, especially new ones, right? There's coordinate and exploit. Which one's good, guys? The downside of exploit is truly control deck. So if you're playing like a Boba Yellow, you've felt this before. When you're against a control deck, the whole game swaps. You go from like, okay, you have so many options, to it feels like you really struggle in every scenario. And that's what it feels like when you are playing a exploit deck. Because yes, you can go out and play all these 1/1s, and yes, you could slowly beat down your opponent, but oftentimes the control decks play like a TIE Phantom or not a TIE Phantom, a Inferno 4, or something like a Pike Sentinel. And suddenly Pike Sentinel's taking out multiple of your battle droid tokens. It's really tough to actually get in damage with those types of units. And then when you do exploit something to get something big out, like Sandhill, multi-troop transport, Malevolence, your opponent just has a Fell the Dragon, right? And that can be really tricky, or an Entrenched, etc. So you really got to be careful in those types of matchups. But against all the other matchups, like some of the other ones that we fought in from other variations of set 3, or even like Sabine Green that we fought against, you saw we have a lot of different options to just completely dwarf our opponents. Like against the Sabine Green matchup, tell me what card is going to be able to deal with Malevolence? What card? No card. That's right. Nothing can really deal with Malevolence without attacking it multiple times or just outracing it. But Malevolence makes it really difficult to race because you just completely remove an attack. It ends the game extremely quickly. It can take out multiple space units, and it has Restore 2. It does everything that you want against the aggro matchup. I've been really impressed with Malevolence in most decks. But again, exploit does have its faults. So really interesting. And I would have put a control deck matchup in here, but the AI really plays the control decks really poorly. Like if I put Power of the Dark Side in a control deck, they're just going to play it against a battle droid token. And that's when you're going to see control lose really hard. That's not how you win the game against things like NUTE Gunray. So just something to keep in mind. Hopefully you all enjoyed. I've been really having fun with these exploit decks. Check it out for yourself. Play some on Force Table, and I'll see you all for the next one.